Welcome to lesson 79, and in this lesson we're going to learn how to draw nets of prisms and pyramids. A net is just an open or an unfolded visual representation of a prism or a pyramid. It's kind of like a box, except we're going to make it flat, and then we're going to use that to find the surface area. The second thing you're going to watch is how I use information in the drawing to identify the 3D figure and its net. I want to be able to find both of them. And then 3, watch how I can tell the difference and listen for my explanation for a pyramid and a prism. How do I tell what I have from the net? How do I know if it's going to make a prism or a pyramid? We're going to find out. Let's talk about the differences between pyramids and prisms. The first thing to notice is that pyramids have that point at the top. And that's because pyramids have only one base, where prisms have 2 bases. Think of it as the top and bottom. The other thing to know about these shapes, these prisms, or these pyramids, is they get their name from the face at the base. So for example, we call this one over here an octagonal pyramid because there's an octagon at the bottom, has an 8-sided base at the bottom. This prism is a pentagonal because you can see it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a pentagon at both bases. So that's basically the big part. So I'm going to also put some numbers here so you can know what these terms mean. Heptagonal is 7. Hexagonal has 6. Rectangles we know have 4. Same as squares. And a pentagon has 5. Octagon has 8. So we're going to use this information to talk more about prisms and pyramids, but in today's lesson we're going to unpack them. We're going to unfold this figure, but before that, what do we know? We know it is definitely a pyramid. As we can see, it has one base at the bottom and one pointy part at the top, and it has a square base. So because of that, I'm going to call this a square pyramid. Let's try to unfold it, and that means we're going to create what's called a net. I'm going to use some colors to help me out here so you can kind of just see what that looks like. We know that this square has 4 sides, so I'm going to use that to draw my square with the same colors. And because it has 4 sides, I know that each of these pieces, when I'm unfolding it, I'm going to have 4 of these on each one. It's going to fold back, kind of opening up like a flower. So I'm going to have a triangle here, a triangle here, a triangle here, and a triangle here. And so this figure, once I actually create a net, I can see all 5 faces. The square base at the bottom and the 4 triangles around the rest of the pyramid. Hit pause and jot this down. And believe me, it does not have to be a perfect drawing, but it is helpful for us to see all the faces. Let's look at this figure. Is definitely not a pyramid, it's a prism, because I see it has a base at the bottom and the top, and they're both the same. And looking at its base, we see it's a rectangle, so this is a rectangular prism. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw this rectangle. And the 2 short sides. And I can see when I'm unfolding it, I'm going to have rectangles 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to have 4 rectangles, but don't forget I'm also going to have another base. So I have to add that into my drawing. So this part here, here, and then I have 2 skinny parts here and here. But I also have to have a base, and my base can be attached to any of the pieces. I'm just going to put my other base over here. But I can see all 6 faces. The other thing I can kind of see is that this and this would be the same size, and these parts over here, when I unfold it, would also be the same size. And our last part, these two would also be the same size. And when we looked at our other figure, because it was a square, that means all of these had the same length and height. That's going to be super important for what we're going to do in future lessons. But hit pause and jot down this drawing. Try to unfold the figure and create a net. Let's try to name the shape and try to imagine. Our first part is to try to figure out, is it a prism or a pyramid? So try to imagine if you were to fold this up, would you have a pointy end, a one base at the bottom and one point at the end? Well, I tried imagining it, and even when I folded these parts up, they wouldn't make a pointy end because these two sides are long and flat. So it's definitely not a pyramid. It's not going to have a point at the end. It is a prism. So let's try and name what kind of prism it would be, and see if you can identify what would the two bases be. Remember, the bases would be congruent to each other. Well, these two are congruent to each other. It would have a triangle in the end, and it would have the same triangle at the top. And here are three sides. So there you have it. This would make, since it has a triangle at the bottom, this is a triangular prism. Here's our base, and here's our base. All right, Math Marvel, that's our last example for today. Hit pause and jot this down. You're going to get a ton more practice trying to identify different models and figure out, is it a prism or is it a pyramid? And then also name it using its base. I'll see you in the next lesson. Be well.